The thing that I like about what you're saying about the dangerous man, because I'm watching your brand and
Mhm.
and I thank God for your amazing book, is that I feel that, you could become a dangerous man even living at a time where you are lower income and you are fighting for your family's life. So when my father went to the Assemblies of God Church in 1964, after struggling with alcoholism since his teens, and then he later led all five of his children to Christ, he became a dangerous man to the lifestyle that we used to live and the silliness that we used to walk in. Because no longer was he partying with the rest of his relatives who were all mad at him for not getting drunk anymore. And they're like, what, you're better than us? You think you're better than us? Well, he became dangerous in a way, in a powerful way, in a very positive way, that he bucked that old system. He bucked the way it used to be done in the Storey family.
Hey, I'm Dr. Keith Johnson. I help men become dangerously confident in the four main domains of life: spiritually, relationally, physically, and financially. Thank you so much for joining us for the Dangerous Men Show. Today, we have a special guest with us, man, my dear friend, Tim Storey. You're not going to want to miss this time together. It's going to really help you turn your setback into the greatest comeback of your life. Before we bring Tim on, I just want to give you a little nugget that I think will really help you in life. You know, your future is defined by the quality of relationships that you have. I'm telling you, every time God wants to move you to a new level of success, He'll connect you with a relationship. Every time the enemy wants to destroy your life and wants to take you out, he'll bring a wrong relationship in your life. So when you look at a successful man, you'll find a compilation of successful relationships that have come into that man's life. So, my friend, relationships are the key. And for a long time, I knew that God wanted to connect me with Tim Storey. And we both had mutual friends say, hey man, you need to know Tim Storey. And other people were telling him, hey, you need to know Keith Johnson. And yet it never happened until we were at the same conference. We're both at a Grant Cardone 10X conference. And I saw Tim off in the distance. And of course, a bunch of people were surrounding him and talking to him. And I'm like, oh man, finally, we're in the same place. But I said to myself, dangerous men never appear desperate. And this is a huge point, guys. Whenever you're connecting with high level relationships, you never want to appear starstruck. You never want to appear like, oh man, I got to know you. I got to know you. That's not how you want to come off. You want to say, God, I prayed a simple prayer. God, you connect us together at the right timing. And then I was standing outside the door. I was just standing outside the door. Someone was talking to me, and the door swung open, and Tim Storey was walking through the door. And he's looking around like, oh, I'm just going to take a little break. I said, hey, Tim, Keith Johnson. And God brought the relationship in his timing together. And so that was a super cool thing and a super great nugget for you to understand that it's important for you never as a dangerous man to appear desperate, and never do this thing. When you're around somebody that's highly successful, never ask for a selfie. All right? Dangerous men don't ask for selfies, okay? So I want to give you that nugget before we bring Tim Storey, amazing man, author of several books. He's traveled the globe. He's been on with Oprah Winfrey. He's speaking on some of the biggest stages right now, literally in America and around the world. My dear friend, Tim Storey. Tim, welcome to the Dangerous Men Show.
Thank you for that nice introduction. And no, Dr. Keith, I'd known of you for years because I think we're similar in the fact that we love to build people up. And your educational side has been well known to all of us that travel and do what we do. And then your love for the nations, that both of us are not people that are just US based, but we actually have influence all over the world. So when I saw your happy, handsome face, I said, that's the guy that I need to know. So it was, the feeling was mutual.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. And I want to jump right in. I don't want, I want to really help in this season of my life. I'm really focused on empowering men.
Yes.
And there's so many men that I've coached over the years, and I know that you've coached over the years, who, life has punched them in the face. It's like Mike Tyson. Every man has a dream, and then life just
Yeah.
punches you out of the blue sometimes, and you get knocked into a setback situation. And I want you to speak to that because God has like downloaded into your heart steps that can help men get out of that big setback. So I want to really dive into this, uh, Tim. Can you help and just begin to share with us some of the steps as you've worked through men and even the setbacks you've experienced, how
Yeah.
you come back?
So one of the things that a lot of us are familiar with is a story of Jabez, and it says that he was birthed in pain. And what had happened is that his mother was in pain. They were in painful environment, a painful situation. So when he came out of his mother's womb, he was birthed in pain. And Keith, that was very similar to the way I was born. So we had already had six people in a little two-bedroom apartment in Compton, California, which is the inner city of Los Angeles. So there was already six. Then 3.5 years after the last child comes a surprise, and that would be Tim Storey. So I become the seventh person in this two-bedroom little apartment, and we were lower income. Father was struggling on the financial end. Mother was struggling on the financial end. Father was a steel worker. Mother worked at a place called Winchell's Donut Shop. The reason I mention that is because I think that pain really can become power. And I think a lot of people quote it. And what happens is that you can hear a quote so much that it almost waters down the real power behind it. And the pain in the Storey family, literally, we flipped it around to power. That my father became more powerful, my mother became more powerful, my siblings became more powerful. Where I'll never forget what my mother said. She says, "We might be lower income, but we're not lower class." So everything was clean, Keith. Like the dishes were always washed, the couch was always like nice with the pillows. Like for whatever we had, we did the best we could. So I was able to see firsthand my parents turn their setback into a comeback, and my siblings turn the setback into a comeback. So the step number one, I'm going to give steps today on how to turn your setback into comeback. Now, step number one would be you have to become awake. You have to become awake. So if you were to look that up in the dictionary, it means to be conscious, to be conscious. So that means you're asleep, you wake up in the morning, and you become conscious. Okay. So you are awake. And one of the reasons that I use that idea of turning the setback to comeback where you have to become awake is because as we know, there's a lot of people that are kind of sleepwalking in their jobs. in their finances, in their faith, and even in their physical body. You've been there, I've been there. I mean, I remember being so busy on the road, traveling, speaking, doing things that people thought were wonderful. And I literally thought to myself, where has a decade gone? I remember that I was at this one place and they were saying it's going to be great in 88. And then I'll never forget. It just seemed like that fast. Someone said, it's going to be fine in 99. And I went, a whole decade passed by. So when I say the word awake, what comes to your mind? When I say to turn a setback to a comeback, number one, you have to become awake. What goes to your mind?
The concept of just being sedated.
Yeah.
Like success can put you asleep. And then you come to a place where you achieve your dreams and then you just become numb. Like the
Yeah.
thing that you're aiming for, you arrive at. And then for me, I mean that I know that's happened to me throughout different times in my life. And then I
Yeah.
just becomes asleep and I'm just doing the mundane.
Yes.
Like you said, like I would travel, 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 speak, 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 and it's just the same old, same old, same old. And
I really
I was
like what
doing things but was asleep.
I like what you added though, because I never thought of the sedation side of things. And you're right. Success can sedate you, and so can ordinary living. Like with men that feel like I've been married this long and it's mundane. My kids are wearing me out. It's mundane. My job is mundane. And that's why I like the way you're attacking these certain pillars, including the physical body, because you're dealing with men from all ages. I see them in your crowds, they're teenagers all the way into men in their 80s. But I think that a lot of people past the age of 40, a lot of men, they start to let themselves go physically because they're sedated. So step number one in turning your setback into a comeback is you become awake. Step number two is you have to take inventory. Take inventory. So this is very, very important. When you take inventory, it's almost like if you have a store and you need to find out what do I have in that store. So I own a local store. What is my inventory? What do I have in that store? And I find it in the setback that many times people, number one, don't realize what they've lost that's no longer in their life. And they don't realize what is still there. And they're complaining about things that are still there, which is their mind is still there, their
Mm.
heart, a little bit of courage, a little bit of faith, a left arm, a right arm is still there. So when someone comes to me with what they would call a massive setback, I make them take inventory. Reminds me of a very well-known NFL football player. And he was making a lot of money, Keith. He was probably had 2 more years to play in the league. He ended up being in the Hall of Fame. And he came to me and he just said, Tim Storey, everything in my life is wrong. Everything in my life is wrong. And I said, okay. We were driving, and I said, all right, we got a little while to get to where we're going. I said, go ahead and take your time and just give me the 20 things that are wrong. Okay. He could only get to two.
Wow.
It was his marriage and his contract. He felt like the team was taking advantage of him. But when I made him take inventory and I said, well, give me the 20 things, because Keith, I knew it wasn't 20 things. And he only found two, smart place to go. All right. So what would you do with that thought? So I said, steps to the comeback. Number one, You have to become awake. Step number two, you have to take inventory. What goes through your mind with that?
Well, instantly in my mind, it's the four things that
Yeah.
as a man that we have dominion over and that we're called to rule and reign. And so really taking a detailed inventory of where am I spiritually? He didn't mention that. Where I am, where am I relationally?
Yeah.
Where am I physically? And where am I financially? Like really looking at the details. And I think so many times as men, we tend to bury our head, in the sand. And
Yeah.
we like, especially spiritual guys, love to focus on their spiritual side, but then their bodies are way out of shit, or, they're out of shape. Their bellies are hanging
Yeah.
over their waist,
Oh, yeah.
and they're,
Oh, yeah.
and then they think money's not important. And so, that's what comes in my head.
I like that. And I think that's I saw you do this in a seminar you were doing where you had uh like a king's crown and then
Hmm.
you had the pillars that were there.
Right.
And so I think that that is a really smart way of going at it because then one can say, okay, where am I in these four areas of my life? And what I find with working with a lot of men, they don't want to take a realistic look at it. Like, where am I in my spiritual life? To take a realistic look. Where am I in my physical life? They don't want to take a real look at that. Okay. So number one, to have a turn your setback to come back, you become awake. Number two, you take inventory. Number three, and this is where we're both good. You have to partner with the right people. Partner with the right people. So I'm going to throw a scripture in here on that. So Proverbs 13:20, as you know, says, those who walk with the wise will become wise themselves. But a companion of fools, their life will suffer harm. So it's interesting thing when it says those who walk with the wise, it actually means stay in stride with wise people, stay in stride. This is a hunger of both of us. That's why we met each other at the 10X conference because Grant Cardone is our friend, both of us, but also there's a lot of great speakers that him and Elena would bring. We want to learn what they're talking about, whether it be Bitcoin or real estate or how to scale a company or how to get stronger in certain areas of our life, 10X health. So those who walk with the wise, stay in stride with the wise, they will stack up more wisdom. Okay, let's go there for a minute. To stack up means that you will compile. So if if I met you when you were 20 and then I met you again when you were 30, you better be a different person. I had to see a bigger stack.
Right.
And
Right.
then from 30 to 40, I better see a bigger stack.
Mm.
So those who walk with the wise, you just keep stacking up more wisdom. But watch this. On the other side, but a companion, so that means somebody that is in connection with a companion, a connection with foolish people, your life will begin to unravel.
Mm.
So the question is, are you stacking? Okay. Or are you spiraling? So when I talk about that, what goes to your mind about point number three in setback to come back is you have to partner with the right people.
What goes in my mind, and I think I'd like for you to talk about it, is the two of us, um, like in the camp that we're involved in, we have the greatest amount of impact in with spiritual people.
Yeah.
The two of us we don't just learn from other spiritual people.
Hmm.
Like the both of us, we go to people who may not even know God.
It's true.
And like for me, I spent my whole life. I don't want the children of darkness to know more
Yeah.
than us. And the Bible says that sometimes they know more than we know. That's
Hmm.
why they win and we lose. So I made it an effort that if someone is succeeding at some area, whether they're saved or they're unsaved, I study from them. I learn from them. I want to know what they know. And there's sometimes I have to eat the meat and spit out the bones. Say that's totally unbiblical. I'm not going to believe that. But
Oh, yeah.
this part of it, and I see so many people. They get in this. They get these eyes that they, it causes them to not be able to see the bigger picture. What?
This is very good what you're saying. Very good. So, as you know, there's a lady named Carol Dweck, Dweck. She became very famous for talking about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. Now, in all fairness to Carol Dweck, who is quite brilliant, this has been something that's been talked about since the Bible about growing in faith, growing in wisdom. Everything is about growth from the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible. As we say, from Genesis to Revelations, it's about growth. But Carol Dweck talks about the fixed mindset is where somebody just stops at a certain place. So maybe like
Wow.
you were 38 and you say, this is just how I see it. Or I remember the good old days when Ronald Reagan was the president. Well, that's, we should, applaud certain people that have been great leaders, whether it be him or Nelson Mandela. But at the same time, we have to understand that life is moving on. So if you're fixed, then you're stuck. But you want a growth mindset and you want to stack up more wisdom. So here's how I see it on the setback to the comeback. So let's say that if I was working with Mike Tyson, which I've had the opportunity, and when I talk about different celebrities today, I'm going to call them conversations because people always say to me, how come you continue to work with the biggest and the best? And I say, because I don't tell the inside stuff of what we talked about in a therapy session, because that would be wrong. So let's talk about Mike Tyson, and I'll talk about Robert Downey Jr. for a minute. With a Mike Tyson, is one of the first things that I noticed when I started getting around him was some of the wrong people that were around him. And I think that one of the reasons he brought some of the wrong people around him is because he's good-hearted and he wanted like to pull his guys up. Like I'm pulling my guys up with me. Like I have opportunity. I don't want to let this guy down. I'm going to pull my guys up with me. So really, that's not a good way to do it. Um, there's other ways to create opportunities for people. That is to maybe give them books or take them to a seminar or send them a YouTube video or have lunch with them, but they shouldn't be on your team. They shouldn't be on your staff. And that's what I saw with someone like a Mike Tyson. Someone like a Robert Downey, who had a setback in his life with addiction that he openly would talk about. Um, it's been a privilege to be his friend since 1999. I see us as friends. I've learned from him. He's learned from me. He's the one that said, first of all, Tim Storey is the comeback coach. And I like the way he said that. But I would always talk to him about the people that he surrounded himself with, because you could become the right person with the right plan. But if you get around the wrong people, then you got problems. So think about that for a second. Like, what kind of people are you around? So for all of you that are watching right now, both men and women, you could be the right person with the right plan, but what kind of people are you around? So when I talk about setback to comeback and you got to partner with the right people, Dr. Keith, what goes through your mind?
exactly what I did when I was at the lowest point of my life. Um, I just I just heard this thing is like, Keith, look at the people you're around.
Yeah.
And I started evaluating all the people, and I was like, loser, loser, loser.
Yeah.
I started looking like I was surrounded with losers and wondering why I was losing. And then I wrote a list, Tim. I said, I'm gonna write a list of 20 people that I want them to know me and I want to know them.
Wow. Wow.
And I carried that list with me, well, up until, what was it, 2 years ago. And I'd check them off one at a time.
Yeah.
And the final one happened 2 years ago. One of the guys that made the biggest difference in my life in the early days. And he ended up contacting me to coach him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is crazy. The final guy, he ends up calling me because he needs help. And so I started surrounding myself and I disconnected from the wrong because I believe God can't bring the right if our table's full of wrong people. We got
Okay.
to,
I'm loving what you're saying there. So you have to make room for the
Mhm.
right people. So you definitely, it's almost like if you look at a Lego, you see a kid playing with a Lego, they are connecting these Legos. You must disconnect. And that's a very difficult thing for people to do because sometimes, even if it's two men, another man will try to manipulate you like you've changed. Wow, I can't believe, Keith, that you don't have time for me. I remember a gentleman called my office several years ago, and he talked to my assistant and said, uh, "I need a day with Tim Storey. I've known Tim since college days. I need a day with him." And then she kind of laughed to herself and she said, "I will give Tim this message." And I said, "Oh, he's a nice guy. Tell him I could definitely have lunch with him, but if he can come out this part of California where I am," and I was being nice. And we weren't even that close back in college. And the guy pushed back on my assistant and said, "I'm not interested in the guy who thinks he's famous. I'm interested in the old Tim Story. I need a day with him." And so, unfortunately, Dr. Keith, I could not have the lunch because number one,
Yeah.
I didn't like the way he said that to my assistant.
Mm.
And there was going to be no equal playing there. And then I did meet him later down the road, and he basically wanted to pay me something. He had an idea that he
Mhm.
wanted my wealthy friends to pay for.
The old Tim Story couldn't have helped him.
Right. Exactly. Hey, I never thought about that. That's actually pretty true.
The old Tim Story that gave him bad advice. Oh, come on.
I want the old Tim Story.
Oh
I
my goodness.
don't want the guy that will only give me a lunch. A lunch can be a long time. I mean, we both do two-hour lunches with the right people.
It's time to stop lying to yourself. You're not operating at full confidence, and it shows in your body, your bank account, and your relationships. Every man hits that wall eventually. And here's the thing, confidence is a skill, not some feeling. It's measurable, it's buildable, it's transformational. Take the Dangerous Men Confidence Assessment right now. It's free, takes 2 minutes, and it'll show you exactly where you're strong, where you're being soft, and a plan to fix it. Go to dangerouscoalition.com/score. Don't guess, know. Your next level is waiting, but only if you're dangerous enough to face it and chase it.
All right, so here's what you do. Setback to comeback. So number one, you have to become awake. Number two, you have to take inventory. Number three, you got to partner with the right people. Here's where I think you're even better than me at this. You have to find the right principles. You have to find the right principles.
Mm.
And when I say that, Keith, and that's why, see, we're real brothers talking here, is that I am a very good teacher at this stage of my life. Very good. You're a great teacher for many years, where my gift has always been more exhortation, and I developed my teaching gift where I think in the principles and the teaching and the breaking apart of ideas and thoughts that you've been known to us as being very phenomenal at that for a long time. Kind of for those that know sports, like a John Wooden, he was such a great basketball coach in college at UCLA. He could break things down. Or Phil Jackson for the Chicago Bulls and then the LA Lakers. I think, Keith, you have that down. So the principles, why are the right principles so important in somebody's comeback?
We don't live by miracles, we live by principles, and the
Yes,
principles of God will bring us the miracles of God.
so good.
And so for me, I've always been like, I need to base my life because I did the whole, I had that season, and I know you did too, where I
Yeah,
was just always believing God for miracle, 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 miracle.
yeah,
And that landed me in a bad path, and I crashed and burned. I went broke, bad
yeah.
relationships, my life went bad. And I started realizing, wow, I've got to live my life by the principles of God's word and let that be the the set of my sail. And if I do these, miracles will just automatically happen in my life.
I, I
And
I love what you're saying, and you're so correct because we both got around certain groups that there was a lot of miracle talk.
mhm,
I'm obviously into miracles because I wrote my last book is called The Miracle Mentality.
right.
But the thing that you said was so powerful is that everything that God is really talking about in the Bible is about principles. So even Psalms 1, if you break it down, it says, "Blessed is the person that follows these principles." Proverbs is full of what? Principles. It's all line upon line, precept upon precept. It's a principle living. But a miracle is that little extra. So a miracle, if I could break this down, means something extraordinary, uncommon, not regular. So for all you ladies watching, hopefully you're football fans. And for some of you men watching, hopefully you're football fans. But some of the greatest teams in the NFL, they were great at the principles. On offense, running the ball, doing what they call the sweep. The running back goes around, or they would throw a little pass that was like a 10-yard pass. They weren't always going for what we call the long bomb. The long bomb is the game breaker miracle. You're exactly right. I think people get in a setback and they're just looking for long bombs. They're just looking for that long pass in the midst of their adversity. But if you learned to be a principled person, you could principle yourself right out of a setback.
What's like one of the foundational pillars of a principle you have to practice on the come up now
Yes.
in your head that these guys need to focus on?
When you look at something like Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, he gets into attributes and characteristics that are important. When you get into James Clear, Atomic Habits, I mentioned both of those books, guys, because both books have sold over 20 million copies. So it shows that people realize there's a need for principles. And so that's what Dr. Keith is really teaching the need for principles. So you asked me what is one of the top principles that I think that people need to have. I'm going to say honesty, honesty, being honest with yourself of where you really are in life. I think that so many people, they have wore different masks even since they were children of, oh, I'm the class clown, I'm the funny guy, or I'm the serious guy, or I'm the bully. I don't know. Are you really? Like who knock knock who's in there? I found that women that I dated uh when I was younger, um, knock knock who's in there? Are you that lady that I went out with 2 dates and then the third date you were a completely different human being? Who is in there? So the power of honesty is a really good principle to to live by. Like honestly, like a man saying, I need to lose 40 pounds. Like honestly, I need to really work on my habits. Honestly, I need to cut these guys out of my life. Honestly, I need to connect with God again. So I think the power of honesty, I go hard on that with guys that I coach.
And boy, I tell you, one of our challenges is I think in the church, there's so much dishonesty,
Yeah,
sadly,
yeah,
because like you go to church, like I was raised with a father who was a Harley Davidson motorcycle gang member.
yes,
And if
yes,
you ask one of those guys in the gang, hey, how you doing? They'll say, "Oh man, I'm hungover, my head hurts, man. Well, man, I'm doing crappy, man." And use some cuss words, to follow it.
yeah,
And they'd tell you the truth.
yeah,
That was part of the brotherhood. Like you didn't lie.
right.
But you go to church and you say, "Hey, how you doing, brother?" "Oh, I'm blessed. I'm highly favored of God. I'm the head, not the tail. I'm above, not beneath." And it's like you just argued with your wife in the parking lot. You're on the brink of divorce. Your car's getting repossessed. You're
One,
overweight. You're in bad shape, and you're just lying. You
yeah,
know.
100%. And I think that that is one reason I appreciate your teaching is that you have such great balance of the power of honesty, but also the power of words. So we're not
Right.
asking somebody to over verbalize how terrible their situation is,
Right.
but let's say a proper thing that someone could say at church. So if I ran into you and you said, Tim, how are you? I could say, I'm doing good, battling some things with my mother's health. She's almost 95. Uh, Definitely like working through some things, but at the same time, I'm feeling positive about some things that are looking like they're going to work. You know what that is? That's a real connection. And if I
Yeah.
connect that way, it's going to make you a little more open to connect that way, don't you think?
Absolutely. That's the law of connection, right? Like I think a lot of times believers don't have any kind of connections with people in the world is because we come across with this kind of language
Yeah,
instead of just being real. People ask me, say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know what? I'm fighting some dragons in my life right now.
yeah.
I got some things that I'm dealing with, but I'm winning, right? So I admit, hey, I got this challenge. I'm fighting. I'm going to win. That's what we do. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, cool. Hey, me, you got some marriage problems going on? Me too, man. I said,
Yeah.
yeah, bro, man, it's tough out here, man. It's difficult.
I love that. So that is the real connection that you teach. The Bible says, as you know, in Ecclesiastes 4:9, pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up.
Mm,
And that when he is cold, he has someone to keep him warm.
mhm.
Okay. And also, when he's under attack, he has somebody to
Ever
protect
feel
him.
like something's just off? Your body's slipping, your marriage is strained, and your income is stalled, and no one around you can push you to win. It's not your fault. You're just hanging out in the wrong circles. Ecclesiastic says, pity a man who walks alone, because if he falls, he's in trouble. So I'm inviting you into the Dangerous Coalition, an elite brotherhood for high achieving men ready to dominate in every domain in life. Join me at dangerouscoalition.com and watch where God takes you in the days to come. It'll be more than you ever thought possible. Godspeed, my friend.
Now, you interviewed our friend Dog the Bounty Hunter, because now he's your friend as well. So Dog and I go back about 20 years now. And when I started getting around Dog the Bounty Hunter, I didn't do a lot of verbalizing of like preaching to him. I did a lot of just standing next to a man who needed someone to stand next to him. And I think that that's what helped us to remain this close over all the years. And I have found this with guys that I've been around for, let's say, 20, 30 years. What they say is, Tim, one of the best attributes about you is you never try to over preach or oversimplify. You just stood with me through my divorce. You just stood with
Mm.
me through my company failing. You were just there. You just showed up. You called, you joked about life, you talked about sports. I mean, a guy could be losing his company, and I would say, like, isn't it wild that Shohei Ohtani already has 26 home runs? And they're like, I'm losing my damn company, buddy. Yeah, but I'm intentionally showing him there's other things in life besides what he's going through.
Yeah, I've had this for, we actually learned it in the Lutheran church, and it
Hmm.
was big in the Lutheran church. It was make a friend, like their evangelism strategy.
Yeah,
Make a friend, be a friend,
yeah.
then lead a friend to Christ.
Wow. I never actually heard that, and I've been in the church my whole life. That's really good.
Yeah, and I think with us as coaches, and I know you have, I have too. I've led so many guys to the Lord
Yeah.
through my coaching, but I
So many.
never cram Christ down their throat first. I just be their friend.
Yeah.
And then I make them a friend, I be a friend to them. And eventually, what happens every time, they'll end up asking me about my faith. And then I lead them to Christ.
I love this. So Dr. Keith and I are talking about steps to your comeback. Number one, you have to become awake.
Yep.
Two, you take inventory.
Yep.
Number three, you got to partner with the right people. Number four, you need the right principles. And then number five, you need the right plan. So we can do a lot with this right now. I believe that you need the right principles before the plan comes forth. I think too many people, when they're in a setback, they try to come up with the right plan and it doesn't work. It's not even correct because it's coming from the wrong place. So you need the right principles, and then what's going to happen is a plan will come forth. I don't think you need to go in the middle of a setback after a divorce or a failure in your life or an addiction and just sit there in your polluted mind or semi-polluted mind and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move from Florida. I'm going to move to California, or I'm moving from California to Texas, Or I heard Nashville is really nice. Stop all that. Get into the right principles, and the plan will begin to reveal itself. Man, I've helped a lot of men with this because right after a challenge, they want to go get even. They're going to prove to other people who didn't believe they could do it. They're going to make that move, that move, that move. I go, no, hold up, hold up. Let's pull this back. Let's figure out what the right principles are, live by those principles, walk in those principles, and then you're going to bear the fruit from those principles. And that's the right plan. Okay, what goes through your mind with this?
Well, what hits me in my mind is I need a coach for that.
Yeah, yeah.
I need
Hmm.
help in this phase because when I'm down, I know for myself when I was at the bottom and I didn't know what to do, I hired a coach and I said, I want to find the best.
I would 100% agree. So if Tiger Woods used a coach even to work on his stroke, on his game, the way he made contact with the ball when he was winning all those tournaments in a row.
Hmm.
Butch Harmon, uh, come on, guys. Same thing. We need the right men in our lives, the right coaches to say, hey, this is good, but you might consider adjusting this. Or I know you want to run to Nashville because you know one person, but does that really make complete sense? Right? Or I know you want to quit your job and now become a thought leader and be bigger than uh, Tony Robbins, but maybe we ought to just take our time on that.
Yeah, because really what we're looking for, right, is we're looking for a map. There's men that already have the map. They
Yeah.
already have been where you're at. They've been down and they have come out of it. And you
Hmm.
need to find somebody that, that's wiser than you, that has had the setback. They experienced the pain of that setback, and then they found a way to get out of that. And that's how I did it. I connected with someone who had the map, and then I didn't argue with them. I didn't question it. I just
Yeah.
said, "Oh, this is the map. You tell me what to do, and I'm going to do exactly what you tell me to do, and I'm going to run this play."
You want to hear something very interesting? Is that in a biblical fashion, when the Apostle Paul has a visitation when Jesus says to him, Saul, Saul, why are you coming against me? And he's knocked out, the presence of God comes on him heavily. You know where he goes? He goes to a coach. He literally goes to a coach. Because if you study the life of this guy named Ananias, he was not one of the 12 disciples. Okay. He did not have the church of Ananias. You never read in the Bible, turn in your Bibles to First Ananias chapter 2, verse 3. Poor guy didn't even get to write his own book, but
Wow.
he literally took a guy who wrote so many books in the Bible, the Apostle Paul. He took this guy and life coached him and poured into him what he knew. Really think
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah.
Ananias was one of the first life coaches.
How long did Paul stay with him? Do you remember?
Biblical idea is that he stayed for him for a season, but the more commentaries I read about it, or N.T. Wright talks about it in his book called The Life of the Apostle Paul, because I've done a lot of study on Paul. He really thinks it's a shorter amount of time. It's definitely not a year. It's more into the months. So
Okay.
it was in the months where this guy had to watch. take out what Paul thought was there and that was working for him, and then had to put in part, what was truth. But he comes out of that experience, the Apostle Paul, and starts flowing in a dimension, if you really want to get honest, in another dimension of the 12 disciples. So the 12 disciples were, as we know, we'll just stay here just for a second. They're around Jesus for about 3.5 years straight. But look at this guy Saul who becomes Paul. This guy's coming just with he's dropping revelation. He's coming with a whole different basketball game. Starting with the right life coach that was inspired by God.
He was a dangerous man.
He
He
he was what you call a dangerous man, and
he was
this,
dangerous on both sides. When he was against Christianity, he was killing guys.
yeah,
And then when he got converted, now he's a threat to hell. I
yeah,
mean, he was dangerous on both sides of the coin.
yes. And the thing that I like about what you're saying about the dangerous man, because I'm watching your brand, and
Mhm.
and I thank God for your amazing book, is that I feel that you could become a dangerous man even living at a time where you are lower income and you are fighting for your family's life. So when my father went to the Assemblies of God Church in 1964, after struggling with alcoholism since his teens, and then he later led all five of his children to Christ, he became a dangerous man to the lifestyle that we used to live and the silliness that we used to walk in, because no longer was he partying with the rest of his relatives who were all mad at him for not getting drunk anymore. And they're like, what, you're better than us? You think you're better than us? Well, he became dangerous in a way, in a powerful way, in a very positive way, that he bucked that old system. He bucked the way it used to be done in the Storey family. And I know later, because I talked to his brothers, and his brothers told me, when your dad first got into religion, we thought he went nuts. We thought this guy's lost his marbles. But look at what he created. Tim, look at what your family ended up doing. And then
Wow.
it was my privilege to lead all my uncles later in life to Christ. Very powerful stuff. But it took my father to become a dangerous man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I love it. So we're tracking this plan. Uh, we've got to have a plan. You got to have a map to get out, guys. You got to find a coach.
Yep.
And you can't, I think the big thing is what I find, Tim, is so many like even leaders,
Yes.
like I find pastors, apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers who are out there in the kingdom who, when they're struggling, they hide.
Yeah.
They
Hmm.
go inward and they think, Tim, like, I got God and I got the Bible.
Yes.
And they never reached him. They
Yeah.
never reach towards somebody else to help them.
No,
What
no.
what is that? Why? I mean, I'm talking about 98% of men. I mean,
Yeah.
leaders don't
Yeah.
reach.
Yeah. I think that part of it is it's a culture that was created of lack of, as we talked about earlier, honesty and real connection.
Mm,
We have these. we have these surface connections many times. People that are clergy or people that were part of the church or all part of the church, that they're very surfacey. Because I'll never forget what my therapist said to me, who's now in heaven. Um, they said to me, beware of the two conversations. And I said, what do you mean by that? You better watch who you think you can trust. And I remember even as a young minister doing extremely well, uh, a guy asking me like, what was I working through? And I gave him that much of something that was not in any way horrific. It was just a challenge I was working through. And I'll never forget that I heard that challenge repeated later on in life by three of his friends. So he did not keep that conversation in confidence. He went and said, I mean, look at Tim. He's Mr. Big, he's Mr. Everything. But I know for a fact that he's working through this. And the challenge, it got bigger the more these guys talked about it. And so my therapist said to me, it's going to be tempting for you to just cut off people. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mm.
There's some good people out there, but you need to spend time with them, connect with them, have a true alignment with them. And I thank God for that. I mean, I have some men in my life. I tell you what, I think they would do anything to protect me, and I have proven I would do anything to protect them. So the last step in setting a setback to a comeback, so you got to have the right plan, and we'll end with this. You got to learn to be persistent. And you've heard it before, persistence breaks resistance. You got to keep pushing through. Having done all to stand, keep on standing. If you've hit the wall, hit it again. Hit it again. Hit it again. It's gonna come down. If it's a God idea, hit it again. Hit it again. It's gonna come down. You gotta be persistent. And that's what me and you are. We get back up, we get back up, and I hit the doggone wall one more time.
Yeah, that is so true. And I think Tim, when we talk about becoming a dangerous man, I believe that confident men, a confident man is dangerous.
Yes.
And so, in understanding the setback, when I look back over my life and I've listened to you, and I mean, I've had many setbacks.
Yeah.
I've known you and your message for 20
Yeah.
plus years. And many times in those times of my own setback, I think about you and think
Yeah.
about your message. And first of all, thank you for that. Thank you for hearing from God, releasing the message, and staying true to the message
Thank
all
you.
your life, Tim. It's made such a difference in my life at times where I was kicked down to the bottom. And but here's what I when I look back at all those setbacks, one of the things that I extracted from that is that really my setbacks were times in my life that actually built more confidence in me.
Ah,
Because, like now, when I face a setback, the older Keith, I look back and I'm like, okay, all right, uh-huh.
yeah.
You kicked me in the face. You got me. I'm down. But I remember when I was in the same situation before,
Wow.
and I know what I need to do now. So I'm not going to waller around like I used to when I was 25 years old, when I was 33 years old, 40 years old. Now the more 49 and holding, Keith, forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Now I'm okay. I'm not even letting this bother me a day.
Yes.
I'm getting back in the game.
Yes.
And Tim, tell me, because I know, like in your life,
Hmm.
confidence, a time when you lost it,
Yeah.
how did you switch and get it back quick?
Yeah. So I think that when you lose it and you go off the rails, okay, sometimes it's gradual where you're just a little bit off in your choices, and then you find yourself like in a terrible marriage or in a terrible business. It was gradual. And sometimes it's like one day can just turn you around. I remember a famous celebrity that everyone knows that we have not mentioned today. I said, "How did you create so much damage in one day?" He said, "You think I woke up thinking today's the day I'm going to blow up my whole life?" No, I think that what needs to happen is don't ever look for the quick comeback. It's like a sprained ankle is different than a broken ankle. If you have a sprained ankle, you still have to be careful, watch how much pressure you put on it, but it's going to get healed faster than a broken ankle, but it's not going to get healed correctly if you keep putting pressure on it the way you used to. And I know that by talking to doctors about this. If you break something, you guys, it's a whole process. And again, Dr. Keith, that goes back to why we do what we do. We're coaches. Of course, we're businessmen, we're entrepreneurs, we have families, we do a lot of things, but we coach people to turn their setbacks into a comeback and have a comeback and beyond. I'm not just trying to get you to get your stuff back. I'm taking you beyond. Yes. So, well, it used to be the Storey family, 7 people in that little apartment in Compton is now Tim Storey, 82 countries of the world I've been to now. And you look at your life, Dr. Keith, from your beginnings, I mean, to where you are now, having traveled the world, continuing to travel the world, your Bible schools, everything that you're doing to change millions of people's lives. Uh, all I can say is it works. So when you have a setback, don't take a step back. Get ready for the comeback.
So you want to be a king? Well, being a king isn't about your ego, it's about serving your brothers. Because real leaders don't just sit there while their brothers suffer in silence. You've got guys in your circle in bad marriages, broke as a joke, drifting spiritually, and letting their bodies go. You know who they are. You probably thought of a few as I was saying that. So here's your next move. Hit the share and get 5 of them to join this men's movement. Because if you're really a king, you won't just rise alone, you'll bring your brothers with you. I want to hit you with some quick questions, quick
Yeah.
responses. To be a speaker, author, coach, and to have the opportunity to be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I mean, knowing in your mind, like I'm getting ready to be interviewed and more people all over the world are going to see this by the millions.
Hmm.
And you had that opportunity. You got to tell me before you went. I mean, because I saw the
Yeah.
interview, I saw you on stage when you spoke for her. You did
Yes.
a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
But I want to know what you were thinking before. I want to help me with that before you're like, this is Oprah, man. This isn't Keith Johnson. This isn't Oral Roberts. This is Oprah.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that
I,
experience.
I will just say this. that at that time, you know, and to this day, that Oprah was just the pinnacle of where you wanted to be, and the platform that she can give somebody, like she did with Dr. Phil. We didn't know who Dr. Phil was. We didn't know who Dr. Oz was. There's so
No.
many people that she gave a platform to that they just took off. I knew if I hit this thing right, it would have a similar reaction, and it did. And so I really studied. I studied her cadence, her style. I listened to what her producer said. The producer said, she doesn't like this. She doesn't like this. She doesn't like this. And I will not say right now in this interview what
Right, right,
the
right.
producer said, but she said, if I was you, don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this. She doesn't like this. I'm like, man, that was like 7 dozen likes. You didn't even give me one she likes. So it did not intimidate me. It made me a little sharper to how I was going to handle that interview. And I'll never forget after that interview, Oprah, who's now become a great friend of mine that I continue to work with, and I've been in her books, I've been in her documentaries, I go to her house. We're like real friends. But at that moment, after that interview, she put her arm around me and she says, I knew you would be ready. But then let me give you something that happened. A couple months later, I was with Smokey Robinson, and you know that I've been close with Smokey for over 35 years. And Smokey said to me, Tim, I told my wife, we literally saw our little brother's life change right before our eyes. And that is the truth. Because one thing she did is she played my interview around the Easter holidays, and she pushed it, pushed it, pushed it, pushed it as a resurrection, as setback to comeback. And then because she likes me and her people like me, they kept rerunning it and rerunning it and rerunning it and rerunning it. And then it was just in over 40 countries of the world. So it was wild. I mean, for like 3 years straight, I would walk through an airport, even in Istanbul, Turkey, and a flight attendant would run up and go, "Oh my God, you're Tim Story from Oprah." This
Mhm.
was non-stop, even to this day. So that was a very, very unique moment.
We have to ask the question, which I already know. I don't know the answer, but I think I do know,
Yeah,
which is what we started this broadcast on.
yeah,
How did you get there?
yeah. I will give you the brief answer, and that was by the Bible says, "Do you see a man skilled at his work? He will be ushered into the presence of the great." And so I just worked on my skill set. I'm not a great cook, but I can cook well enough. But having to do with turning the setback to a comeback, I do not think I can be beat. I do not think I can be beat.
No, no.
I've spent 3 decades understanding what people feel, go through, the challenge of it, but I've had a lot of help to help me compile this information. But I believe that God gave me a gift to turn people's setbacks to comebacks. I think I was so skilled at that that when she said on today's show, we're going to be talking about turning the setback for the comeback. And for 1 hour straight, we talked about that. I said, game over, game over. And it was like boom. And then all of a sudden, USA Today called me the original comeback coach. And, I was in all these magazines, the original comeback coach, all the stars coming, because I had already had a lot of them, but they were now the floodgates opened as it continues to be. So, yes, do you see a person skilled? So, here's what I say: work your spot, and God will put the spotlight on your spot.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Listen, I think one of the things that we can get out of this, especially some of you who follow me, who are authors, speakers, and coaches,
Yeah.
I've said it for years, and some of you are still not getting it. You got to find one subject. I'm known as America's number one confidence coach. I
Yeah.
mastered one subject. Anybody pulls me on stage about confidence,
Yeah.
I am going to master that stage. I would not be intimidated to debate Oprah, Dr. Phil. It wouldn't matter who it was. On that stage, I know more than anybody else on the
Yeah.
planet. There may be more confident men than me. Tim Storey, more confident man than me, but he doesn't know more about confidence than me.
I like that. And that's not bragging, that's just fact.
Yeah, it's just fact. The second thing is, I guarantee, Tim, there was somebody that connected.
Yeah.
There was a relationship that connected Tim with Oprah.
That's 100% what did happen. It was a lady who connected me to Oprah's executive producer of over 20 years, and that's where the connection happened.
There it is, everybody. The dangerous show today. We started off by telling you your life is a compilation of relationships, and those
Yes.
connections lead us to success in our life. So, guys, that whole piece of mastering your ability to connect with people quickly is one of the greatest skills that we need to develop in a digital age. And Tim Storey, your message, your ministry has changed my life. God has used you in so many different ways in my life, and you've connected me and you've helped me with connections already at this point. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for being who you are. Last question. When you think of a dangerous man, what pops in your head?
Um, Dr. Keith Johnson. That's my final, it's my final answer.
Oh, my. Well, when I think of a dangerous man, I think of Tim Storey. Thank you, everybody. Hey, make sure you share this with 5 friends. This has been the bomb. We have the outline of how to experience a comeback. And please, let's get this rolling. Thank you, Tim Storey, for helping us with this movement. I'm so appreciative of it. God bless and Godspeed.